Hello everybody and welcome to another Game News Roundup. As always, if you enjoy these, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, and all that stuff. You know, YouTube algorithm stuff. As always, these are also streamed live, twitch.tv/TrunksWD. Usually on Mondays and Wednesdays is when I usually stream. Whether I do Game News Roundup, it depends if there's enough to talk about, or I just play some random games, depending on what I'm in the mood for. But starting with the latest Game News Roundup. Of course, it's always something with Microsoft's Activision Blizzard deal, but new report from Reuters. Reuters? It's one of those, maybe, possibly wrong completely, but yeah. It appears Microsoft is likely it will receive an antitrust warning from the European Union regulators, the European Commission, over its Activision Blizzard acquisition. The European Commission is preparing a statement of objections that will be sent to Microsoft in the coming weeks, according to people familiar with the matter. The objections will list out concerns the regulators have over the deal. Microsoft, in its own statement, we're continuing to work with the European Commission to address any marketplace concerns. Our goal is to bring more games to more people, and this deal will further that goal. And the European Commission did decline to comment. However, we do know they have an April 11th deadline. Microsoft had pretty much already tried to work out some deals with the European Commission, some consents, before they released a statement of objections. However, European Commission is like, no, we're going to release a statement of objections, and then you can address them. Which seems to be like the main thing. This does not mean the deal is blocked, but it's a bit under more scrutiny. So, I mean, my biggest thing, I'm gonna guess, it's always been about Call of Duty. Seems the most thing of, like, Microsoft potentially taking games off other rival platforms, mainly the PlayStation. I'd say the Switch, but you don't really see them much in the way of Activision Blizzard games on the Switch. Call of Duty hasn't been on there in years, and I think maybe Overwatch is the only Blizzard game on the Switch. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But there's not many games, if there are any, on the Switch. So, but yeah, European Commission looking like to be sending out a statement of objections to Microsoft over the deal in the coming weeks. So we'll see. Pretty sure Sony still has more exclusives than Microsoft, even with the deal. Well, yeah, probably. I mean, if all these Activision Blizzard games became Xbox and PC exclusive, then yeah, sure. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, also, yeah, who has more exclusives? Yeah, probably still Sony at the moment. Even though Microsoft has greatly improved their first-party lineup, especially with the acquisition of Bethesda. And with Starfield confirmed being an Xbox exclusive. And then we don't know about Elder Scrolls 6, but I have a feeling it will be Xbox. Console exclusive. It's obviously still coming to PC. Probably. I mean, we'll see in 5 years when it comes out. Probably. Maybe. Potentially. So, that's the thing. Also, Google and Nvidia have also expressed concerns to the FTC over the deal. Yep. But of course they have. This is according to a report from Bloomberg, who spoke with people who remain anonymous due to the process apparently still being confidential, but they still spoke out about it. The report claims that Google and Nvidia have expressed concerns that the deal could give Microsoft an unfair advantage in the market for cloud, subscription, and mobile gaming. However, one person says Nvidia didn't directly oppose the deal. However, they did stress for the need of equal and open access to games. So Nvidia and Google has expressed some concerns over it as well. Well, before it was definitely confirmed Sony was the main one completely against it, and now we have Google and Nvidia potentially having some concerns with it. But yeah. FTC attorney earlier this month stated there have been no substantive settlement with the deal. And talks with Microsoft. FTC in December announced it was looking to block the deal as it would give Microsoft the ability to suppress its competitors in gaming. I think everyone wants a piece of the pie, yeah, pretty much. I mean, the main thing is, as long as Microsoft says we'll keep, a legally binding deal of Call of Duty is going to have to remain on PlayStation and, rival platforms for, say, 10 years, and maybe all Activision Blizzard games that are already on PlayStation still have to remain on PlayStation, as well as future releases for the next, say, 10 years. I think that's probably what Microsoft is going to go with. I'm sure Microsoft still wants all their games on Game Pass as they want to keep growing Game Pass. So I would expect Activision Blizzard games that are franchises that are already on PlayStation to remain on PlayStation for at least the next decade. I could be wrong. We'll see how things go. There's always something going on with this acquisition. It's like, okay, every week, at some point, we'll get more approvals. I mean, as I've mentioned a million times, it's been approved in Chile, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, and Serbia. Now, at least confirmed places it's been approved. There's a rumor that it was approved in Japan, but it's just a rumor. We don't know for sure if it has or not been. It's really the U.S., the UK, and Canada, the European Union are the big three that we're waiting on. Yeah, there are other places, Japan, China, Canada, probably Australia, New Zealand, and whatnot. But again, U.S., European Union, and UK are the big three we're waiting on. So, we'll see how this goes over the coming months. This could be months and months. It's been almost a year since Microsoft announced the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, and we're still waiting. But it is such a big deal, it's not surprising it's taken as long as it has taken so far. Going to some sales stuff. NPD released their 2022 figures, as well as December 2022 software figures. They have not released their hardware figures, their full report yet. But we do have the top 10 selling games, retail and digital, in December, as well as year-to-date 2022. So in December 2022, Modern Warfare 2, best-selling game in the US. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in second place. And you can see asterisks there on Pokemon and Mario Kart 8. It's because digital sales are not included. Nintendo does not share their digital sales because, of course not. So it's potentially, they might be higher up the list. God of War Ragnarok, third best-selling game in the US in December. Madden, FIFA, Sonic Frontiers, Elden Ring, Need for Speed, Unbound, Mario Kart 8 in ninth, and then Crisis Core, Final Fantasy 7 Reunion in 10th. Again, Need for Speed and Crisis Core, the two new games in the top 10. The best-selling games in 2022. Call of Duty, also the best-selling game of the year. Elden Ring, the second best-selling game of the year. Madden in third. God of War Ragnarok, we got in fourth place. Lego Star Wars is in fifth. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in sixth. FIFA in seventh. Pokemon Legends Arceus in eighth. Horizon 2 Forbidden West in ninth. And then MLB The Show 22 is in 10th place. Again, Pokemon games do not include digital sales. And then MLB The Show does not include Xbox and Switch digital sales. So yeah, that is U.S. software figures, or at least the ranking of the 10 best-selling games. Also, I should mention, this is by revenue, not units sold. It is specifically by revenue, so a more expensive game have a better chance of being further up on the list versus some games that are a little bit older, maybe a little bit cheaper in price. Europe 2022 charts came out. GSD and GFK data. GSD data specifically, I would say. And reported by Games Industry. FIFA, best-selling game in Europe for 2022. Sales were up 3% compared to FIFA of last year. Modern Warfare 2, best-selling game, second best-selling game of 2022 in Europe. Sales were nearly up 73% compared to last year's Call of Duty Vanguard. Goes to show people were not a big fan of Vanguards. That's quite low. The chart itself has Pokemon Scarlet and Violet separated, but if you were to combine them as one SKU, it would have been the sixth best-selling game, with sales a bit above Pokemon Legends Arceus. Since they weren't, Violet came in 14th place and Scarlet in 16th place. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet combined sales were 13% higher than 2021's Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and 8% higher than 2019's Pokemon Sword and Shield. There were 169 games sold in 2022 across Europe, which is down 7.1% compared to last year. 82.5% of the games sold in Europe were digital, 76.6 million were retail. New game sales, so games that were released in 2022, were up 16% over the new games sales in 2021. So new game sales are up year over year, so it basically shows the main reason for the decrease. Older game sales decreasing more than in previous years. The UK was the biggest market in Europe. However, game sales were down 6% year-on-year. Germany came in second place with sales down 13% year-on-year. France, the third biggest market, sales were down 3%. And then Spain saw a 1% increase, and Italy a 2% increase. Again, these are software sales. And unsurprisingly, it's been known for a long time. UK has generally been the biggest gaming market in Europe, followed by Germany and then France. And then usually Spain and Italy are roughly similar. In the UK, it was the biggest market for FIFA, Call of Duty, Lego Star Wars, and Elden Ring. While in Germany and France, it was were the biggest markets for Nintendo Switch titles like Pokemon Legends Arceus, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Nintendo Switch Sports, and Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. In Europe in 2022, there were 5.3 million video game consoles sold, down 25% compared to 2021. Now, it should be noted that these hardware charts do not include the UK and Germany, as well as some smaller Eastern European markets. Nintendo Switch was easily the best-selling console in the tracked European markets for 2022. However, sales were down 15% compared to 2021, but considering how old the Switch is, that's not really a big surprise that sales were down year over year. Now, the biggest surprise is PS5 was the second best-selling console. However, sales were down 35% for the PS5 in the tracked European markets. That's a bit of a drop. That's an unexpected drop, to say the least. With, I guess, stock shortage is the main reason for that drop. But being down 35%. Although, looking like sales were up in the US, so Sony has been focusing more of their consoles to the US than to Europe, for sure. Because sales are up in the US for the PS5, while they're down 35% in Europe for 2022. And the Series X and S did come in third place, but its sales were up 4.4% compared to the previous year. So it was the only console to see sales up year over year in these tracked Europe markets. Although, I believe it was the UK report, Series X and S sales were down a bit year over year. So overall in Europe, sales would either be flat in Europe or down a few percent, most likely, across all of Europe. So that includes UK. You could say Germany, which is not included here. And of course, one of the reasons for some of the sales being down is because of the embargo against Russia. At least in these other European markets. But yeah, Nintendo Switch was the best-selling console in almost every country. However, the PS5 was the number one selling console in Denmark and Sweden, and the Series X and S was the number one selling console in Norway. Talk about differences from country to country. The Switch is number one pretty much everywhere. Except Denmark and Sweden, which is where PS5 was number one. And then Norway, where the Series X and S was number one. Now, how much were they in the lead? No idea. PS5 could have been up by, 1% above the Switch or whatever. Series X and S up by 1%, Hard to say. There were 18 million accessories sold in Europe. And then, best-selling games. FIFA 23, Modern Warfare 2, Elden Ring, yada yada. If you want to pause the video or whatever, watching this on YouTube, feel free. Or links below in the description to these articles. So, a little bit more sales figures from Nintendo. Switch has outsold the Wii in France to become the best-selling home console. However, there is just a bit of an asterisk because that does include the Switch Lite was a handheld only. So, hard to say. Now, does that mean it's the best-selling, say, video game platform of all time in France? No, that goes to the DS, which I believe is like 10.5, 11 million. Or so. But yeah, Nintendo Switch is also Nintendo Wii to become the best-selling home console ever in France. Switch has now sold 7.09 million units at the end of 2022, surpassing the Wii earlier in the year, which had sold 6.3 million units lifetime. And the PS4 also has an install base of 6 million. Nintendo France General Manager, we sold 987,000 Switches in 2022, which is the best performance on the market. 1 out of 2 consoles sold in France last year was a Nintendo Switch. And Nintendo claims nearly 25% of French households have one or more Switch consoles. And the new buyers are made up of half of them are families with children, and the other half are of young adults. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so yeah, best-selling games in France for the year. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet first place, 701,000. Pokemon Legends Arceus in second, 575,000. So yeah, safe to say, France, they love their Pokemon. 2 best-selling games. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, 445,000. Again, these are the best-selling Switch games, by the way, not just the best-selling games in France for 2022. Switch Sports, 425,000. Mario Strikers Battle League, 264,000. Splatoon 3, 254,000. Animal Crossing New Horizons, 253,000. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, 214,000 units sold. So that is going to be about it for the sales stuff for this Game News Roundup. Saudi Arabia has increased its stake in Nintendo. So Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, a wealth fund shared by Crown Prince, back in May 2022, bought a 5.01% stake in Nintendo. And now a new report shows that Nintendo has increased its stake once again, up by 1.06% to 6.07% stake in Nintendo. At least there was no mention after the most recent increase in its stake. But after its first investment in Nintendo, it made it the 5th largest shareholder in Nintendo. So yeah, and Saudi Arabia has been investing in video game developers and publishers, a lot of them in Japan, as a way to diversify outside the oil market, which has a limited lifespan. And then we've got rumor. Again, this has been a rumor for a while that PlayStation 5 is coming out with a detachable disc drive. So kind of a redesign of the PS5 where the disc drive will be detachable. So you can buy a digital PS5 and then you can buy the disc drive later separately and you can easily attach it to the PS5. So yeah, insider Tom Henderson basically says, doesn't look like there are any major hardware changes from the original consoles with this new disc drive. And also looks like the disc drive won't be compatible with the current digital version. Which I guess makes sense. If it's detachable in the original version, it doesn't have a way to attach it. So if you have an original PS5 digital, you have no way of buying a disc drive. Or the redesign, I guess. I mean, we'll see. Again, these are rumors. Take it with a grain of salt. If this thing turns out to be true, it'll probably be coming out this fall sometime. Maybe September, October would be my best guess for this redesigned PS5. Now, how much is going to be different? There's no major hardware changes from the original console. I mean, maybe a little bit smaller. We'll see. Or we won't see if it's not real. Who knows? Although, to note, the PS4 Slim did... I want to say it came out 3 years after the PS4 came out. Which, if it's the same with the PS5, and this is like PS5 Slim with a detachable disc drive, that would make a release 3 years later would be this fall, this holiday. 2023 would be 3 years later. So maybe we'll see a redesigned PS5. Who knows? We'll find out hopefully later this year. And maybe they'll bring the price down of the PS5 a little bit as well. And a handful of more things. Rick and Morty and High on Life creator Justin Roiland is facing felony domestic violence charges. Apparently this started back in May 2020. But stuff has been breaking out now, made public. Rick and Morty and High on Life creator Justin Roiland has been charged with felony domestic violence in Orange County, California, according to a report from NBC News. This is from a criminal complaint by the Orange County District Attorney, which apparently was filed all the way back in May 2020. He was charged with one felony count of domestic battery with corporal injury and one felony count of false imprisonment by menace, violence, fraud, and or deceit. The complaint was filed by an anonymous Jane Doe, who was dating Roiland on January 19th, 2020. He was arrested and released on a $50,000 bond in August 2020 and arraigned in October 2020. More than a dozen court hearings and pretrial hearings have since taken place, and a date for the main trial has not been set yet. An order was filed in October 2020 to protect the person Roiland was dating. Roiland is to not harass, threaten, or surveil the person and cannot go within 100 feet of the person. The order lasts until October 2023. Roiland's attorney, during Thursday's hearing, so there was a recent hearing, did confirm to NBC News there's a plea offer available, however, did not discuss any details. There's an agreement to convene again for another hearing on April 27th. So no convictions yet. We'll see how things go. But facing charges, Rick and Morty and High on Life, recent release video game creator, is facing. Callisto Protocol, a reportedly missed sales expectations, according to a report, which claims the game cost 200 billion won, or about $162 million to develop over a period of about 3 years. and that figure does not include marketing, according to the report. The publisher had expected the game to sell 5 million units. However, it appears the game will be missing its target by a large amount. Doesn't look good for comedically violent media when the creators go really violent. Yeah. Pretty much. With Callisto Protocol, Samsung Securities lowered its forecast for the game to 2 million. And says even the new forecast won't be easy for the game to reach, and Korean Investment in Securities lowered its own forecast from 4 million to 2.1 million units sold. So it's looking like Callisto Protocol is missing sales expectations and targets and may end up losing money. $162 million for any game is a fairly large development cost. Other than maybe for the biggest AAA titles out there, the yearly Call of Duty games, or Red Dead Redemption 2, or maybe when GTA 6 comes out and stuff like that, or maybe let's say God of War Ragnarok possibly, or Spider-Man 2, but only usually the biggest of AAA games get anywhere near that. Even though you look at like the biggest movies, you're talking this amount of money or way more, but movies, games, is a bit different. And a couple of things on Ubisoft, which has been facing a lot of issues. They have canceled 3 unannounced games and have also delayed Skull and Bones for the, 10th time at this point. I'm not really sure. It's supposed to come out like 5 years ago originally or whatever, and it's been delayed again. And Ubisoft has been facing a lot of issues lately. They've had a lot of games that have underperformed, or canceling games, or games that are delayed. So yeah, press release from Ubisoft, and to ensure all our energy is focused on building our brands and live services into some of the most powerful within the industry. And as a consequence, we have decided to cancel 3 unannounced games on top of the 4 already announced in July 2022. They already canceled 4 games in July 2022. That's 7 total. They've canceled over the last 6 months or so. Players will be able to discover the beauty of Skull and Bones in the upcoming beta phase. The additional time has already paid off and brought impressive improvements to its quality. Let's see. We believe players will be positively surprised by its evolution. We've decided to postpone its release in order to have more time to showcase a much more polished and balanced experience and build awareness. Skull and Bones will now release in early 2023 to 2024. Their fiscal year? So we'll see when it actually comes out. So, I also mentioned that Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope and Just Dance 2023 have underperformed. Despite excellent ratings and player receptions, as well as an ambitious marketing plan, we were surprised by Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope's underperformance in the final weeks of 2022 and early January, according to Ubisoft co-founder and CEO. And Just Dance 2023 underperformed as well. With the lower than expected sales from these games and a more challenging environment in the world going on, economically, Ubisoft has also lowered its expectations for the next quarter from 830 million euros to 725 million euros. So yeah, that's going to about do it for the Game News Roundup. As always, hope you enjoyed, and if you have, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. I've been slowly inching my way up there, and hopefully I will get there soon enough. So thank you all so much for watching. See you all next time for some more Game News Roundup.